the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real, a movie podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Hudson. My co-host is Jason Dietz. We watch big blockbuster movies that he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. We're two high school English/film/philosophy/creativity teachers with graduate degrees using our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity and philosophy in our films and push our listeners to think critically about their entertainment.
Greetings and welcome. I'm Jason Dietz, the co-host. We're glad to have you with us. And joining us today is our colleague. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Brooklyn Judd. I'm a creative writing teacher here at the high school, and I'm here to give my thoughts.
Yeah, we're super excited to have her with us. So this week's movie is The Avengers.
The Avengers. 2012. It was an event.
It really was.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, actually, what were you doing in 2012?
I was worried about Yellowstone blowing up because I watched 2012. I mean, we all live in, the caldera here, so.
Yeah, we'd be instantly dead.
Yeah, That's what I was worried about, the end of the Mayan calendar.
Some comfort. Where were you living?
That.
I don't care about the Avengers.
I forgot about that, but in middle school we all paused lunch because we were like, it's the end of the world!
Yeah.
To fix this. I was in Louisville. I was working on my dissertation in 2012.
Nice. What was your memory seeing this? Did you see it in theaters in middle school? What do you remember?
I was a pretty big Marvel fan even before the Avengers came out. And me and my friend group of tween girls got together and like bleach painted Captain America t-shirts and wore those to the theater together.
Wow. So of the 4 Avengers, you picked Captain America.
I think it's just because the shield was easy to paint and it was Chris Evans and we were all 12 and...
It wasn't Chris Hemsworth?
No, Chris Evans was...
Evans?
I'm going to blame Haley for this, if she's listening. She said she would be. She was really into Captain America, and I was really into all of her opinions.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, that's so funny.
Of the 4, I would not have picked Captain America.
My favorite now is not Captain America.
Oh, really? Who's your favorite now? Let's just get into
It's
that.
a hard question. Of that movie, Iron Man, probably.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite, Avenger, total? Not even if they came later?
Yeah, no, we can't talk about that right now.
Why not?
We're in the Avenger 2012.
Yeah, so insofar as what Dietz knows, it's Loki and Iron Man who are my 2 favorites.
That's fair.
Loki, I respect.
Mm-hmm.
Loki's
He
my
gets
favorite.
even better.
Yeah.
Don't.
That's all I'll say. No spoilers.
Yeah, when we listen to the TV show on the Patreon.
Although one of my things with Loki in this movie is he's a lot more one-dimensional, which I did not like.
Yeah, that was, and I was a big Loki fan, and there are so many, fan theories about his behavior in that movie.
Oh,
but,
really?
can we really give credit to the theories if I don't think the writers intended it that way, and it's just, fans doing a creative spin?
Wait, he was...
He was
had
mind
the flu
controlled,
or something?
tortured beforehand, because he's a frost giant and he shows up sunburned with dry skin and stuff, and so people are like,
"Oh wow!"
Speaking of doing a spin, you ever see where he was on a talk show once where they pointed out fan art because he puts the spear in the ground, does a little kick around it. It's like you're pole dancing. So that 1 second, I think, from this movie, or maybe it was even Thor, I guess, but a lot of people grasp onto little things.
They really do.
This was back, they still did midnight releases with this movie. And did I go? I did not go.
Good call.
No, it wasn't my call. My mom didn't want me to go. My mom basically is like, you are not allowed to go to the midnight premiere. I was a senior in high school. It's like, you know what, whatever. But then a lot of my friends got mad at me. It was this whole thing where they were mad that I didn't go with them to go see this movie, midnight premiere. But I saw it a week later.
I mean, you could have been me. I watched it 11 years after its release. So, I mean, at least you got in the theater, I guess.
Yeah.
So, quick summary. This movie kind of brings together, as we've talked about last time, the 4 Avengers. So, most of the first 30 minutes is the Avengers assembling, which was really cool. And then we have the middle chunk of this movie, which is the Avengers not becoming a team.
Mm-hmm.
They're like infighting and arguing with each other. And in the case of Thor and Iron Man beating the crap out of each other, one of my problems I have with this movie is that Thor did not turn Iron Man into a little cube about the size of a dice, which he then flicked into space. I think that would have improved the movie a lot.
we're not
okay, sorry. I promised after last time it was going to be unbiased. So, there's a lot of infighting, and then our favorite non-actor, Nick Fury, kind of gives a little come to Jesus thing, and they come to Jesus, and they beat the crap out of all of the... Chitauri.
Yes.
Yes, and also Loki, kind of, and then they win.
Yeah.
Really surprisingly, and they pack Loki off to something Asgard in the Silence of the Lambs mask, which I thought was really cool. So that's my
the summary.
That's my almost unbiased summary.
Nice. We're gonna start with positives. Brooklyn, what are your positives of this? What do you like about Avengers 2012?
Again, I'm a fan. I think there's a lot of positives. I think the cast chemistry is good. I think that, like, one of the reasons why it really stuck with people and people are off writing their Happy Avengers fanfics are because you kind of get this, like, feeling where there's this found family that they achieve and sort of, like, the cast chemistry. I think that a lot of the humor hits well. Sometimes it doesn't. In this movie, I feel like most of the jokes land pretty well.
Yeah, in my rewatch, I even made that note that, like, this is the beginning of the Marvel jokey dialogue. Mm-hmm. It's almost, not that it's bad, because I think it's good in this movie.
Yeah.
It gets kind of bad in later movies. There are some movies where, like, that should have been a moment, but we're just telling jokes.
Yeah.
I bet you'd even guess what's the worst at it, like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that's in the future.
Yeah, we could talk about other movies.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and plug my ears.
Anyway,
love it. You just say some movies they really try hard with the comedy and it doesn't land as gracefully as it did in this movie.
Love and Thunder. That's the elephant.
Which I assume
is still my broken heart. It's fine.
But yeah, this is the beginning of that bantery dialogue that other movies even try to copy. I think it works.
Yeah.
And it works in this movie, but not so much in other examples.
Yeah, I even laughed a couple times, which is hard for me in a Marvel movie. I laughed when, so I laughed straight up when Loki's, talking, and I'm the god, and I'm the bam, and the Hulk grabs him and just like, that was great. That was hilarious. Yeah. Also, Nick Fury had a line I liked. So, first time.
He doesn't like Samuel L. Jackson.
Really?
Yeah.
He doesn't act.
Well, I could see that.
You don't need to. You don't need to agree.
I have a second.
I like Samuel L. Jackson, but it is true that when I see him, it's just because I'm like, oh look, it's
him.
That's
in a different place.
Yeah. An argument.
But I also feel like I've only really seen him in like action movies, like Star Wars or
There's
Avengers.
No others.
Where probably.
No, he doesn't do anything else.
Oh, well.
We're going to get into this. What was the line you liked?
It was, let me know if Real Power wants a magazine
that is
or something.
A funny one.
That caught me off guard. I should have expected it coming because that's all Samuel L. Jackson ever does, but that was great.
The ant boot.
Yeah.
My favorite is, it's like, let's go north or whatever. Like, the machines are down. We don't have, I don't know, the compass, whatever. Like, is the sun coming up? Put it on the left.
My actual favorite was when Iron Man and Captain America are arguing, and Iron Man says, "Oh, is this about me now?" And Captain America says,
"Isn't it always?"
Yeah, I'm sorry, isn't everything? I was like, "Oh yeah, get him."
Okay.
Even though I don't like Captain America, I hate Iron Man, so I'm like, yeah.
You like Captain America more than Iron Man?
Yes.
I guess controversial.
Yeah.
Iron Man sucks. I hate Iron Man.
I think that he uses that persona as like a shield because of his history, and I think it's appealing. But
I do too.
Well, okay, so there's two against me.
Well, Mark,
I just think that he can't act either.
You don't think Robert Downey Jr.
That is
Yes.
not a
Oh
take
my
that is
gosh.
surprising to you, so don't even play.
I just needed.
Have you ever seen him play anything other than the character he is in Iron Man?
Yes.
No
Dr.
one,
Dolittle.
no.
Oppenheimer.
Dr. Dolittle.
I haven't seen Oppenheimer.
I'm trying to think of movies he's in.
Yeah.
Dr. Doolittle's actually a great
He
take.
was pretty shy and demure in that movie.
Okay, I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll...
I don't think you'll like that movie, but I don't know, because I feel like I walked away thinking, okay, parts of it were good and parts of it landed flat.
In
And
Oppenheimer?
so, no, Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, okay. I was like,
So, I think if I walked away feeling that, you probably would too.
Okay.
yeah.
So then that
I mean,
really
it's a kid's
does
movie,
that
so-
really
It
does
was-
support my point.
It was his
then.
passion project. I'm making Doolittle.
And apparently he sucked
I
at it,
mean,
which proves
I
my
thought-
point.
He's making
Booyah!
choices.
This isn't about Dr. Dolittle, so I shouldn't go too deep. I thought it was great for kids. And so I think that if you're making a movie and it's a children's character and it's a children's movie and you're aiming it at kids, I think that's fine. Because sometimes I watch kids' movies and I'm like, this isn't for them. This is for the parents.
This is for me.
So we can excuse his lack of acting ability because it's a kid's movie.
I think it was the script writing.
Yeah.
Okay, other positives for me. The replacement of whatever the lame-o Hulk was in the first movie
Edward
with Mark
Norton.
Ruffalo. Yeah, that guy.
I like Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
I think it's fun.
amazing. He is so good. And then Tom Hiddleston is the best.
So talented.
Like the best guy in all of Avengers
Yeah.
so far. I like.
Did you know he was the bad guy before this? Like you watched? Like you knew he was the
Oh
big
no,
villain.
I didn't know that he was in the movie. No.
Yeah, because he's like the bad guy in this movie.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't know that coming in.
I
But I was
love-
happy when he showed up.
My
and then
favorite.
I got less happy because he was really kind of one-dimensional. But I was like, yeah, Loki.
My favorite little moment is when Hawkeye shoots him and Loki
That-
just
I
Yeah,
kills
that
loved
was
that.
cool.
He like does his look like what? And then it explodes.
That was cool. Coulson dying was like, for me, was like out of the blue. Like, what the heck? I thought he was, but he's not really dead, huh?
Well,
He comes back. Okay, well, he
He
is dead.
resurrects.
He gets resurrected in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But
Okay.
does he ever make it back into the main storyline?
no.
So just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Great.
And then
So
that's
that-
not Disney owned, so that's this whole other. Did they buy it?
Disney owns ABC.
Because I thought Netflix was it on Netflix? I don't even remember.
No, there are Netflix and Marvel shows.
Daredevil and
Yeah,
Luke
and
Cage
now those are
whatever.
on. But
Yeah.
like, Agents of Shield was a. I've never seen Agents of Shield.
I had a big Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh
phase.
really?
It lost me. I think in like season 2. Like I
Yeah.
just felt like they were ruining my characters.
Mm.
And that is the quickest way to get rid of me.
Yeah.
But
So, but if you've never seen the show, Coulson's dead.
Yeah, that
No
was.
questions asked.
So I respect a lot any show, any book that is willing to kill off a major character. That was really awesome for me. Also, and then I will shut up and be quiet. Probably my favorite part was Coulson fanboying with
Yeah.
Captain America. He's just like
So
he goes
good.
from this very
it was
straight
very
laced,
humanizing.
and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, will you sign my cards? Oh, I love you so much. I love your."
Well,
I
no,
love
I
that.
love
That
how
was
he
great.
asks. It's like
So good.
because Captain America's clearly doesn't know how to react about it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, I can do that or whatever.
So those are my positives.
I think that also brings up like what we were talking about, and then again with like Loki and the Arrow. I think they had a really good understanding of like the basic character structure.
Yes.
I feel like that's a thing that later movies struggle with. Is sometimes to achieve this story arc, they'll give up kind of that character integrity and
Yeah.
kind of twist it to fit the story. Whereas in this one, everyone is their characters.
Yeah.
Mm.
In fact, later on, like with Doctor Strange too, we have to explain how this is compared to other. Like
What?
the director didn't even watch the
WandaVision?
WandaVision.
Yeah, I heard that.
He got a footnotes
Wait,
version.
there's one
of,
called WandaVision.
anyway, and he got a footnotes
WandaVision's
of
pretty good.
Flip?
but-
It's the best show. I'm not, in my opinion.
WandaVision.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
like Loki better, but WandaVision was really critically high rated. So
Mhm. Anyway,
Okay.
the director of Doctor Strange 2 didn't even watch the show, got the footnotes version, didn't know. Wanda's just a different character.
yeah,
That's an example of it not being well done. you know, we'll get there in this
Yeah,
series.
we will. It's not right now, though. So.
But I'm just trying to agree with Brooklyn that Joss Whedon knew what to do with these characters.
Yeah, I agree. Also, this is the first of these movies that I would watch again. The first one that I can. I don't want.
All right,
Okay,
no,
fine,
wait, no.
fine,
Let
I'll
me say.
it.
I know I gotta say something too.
Okay, go ahead.
I have been holding this in till this episode.
Okay.
This is the first good one. Like from Iron Man, I like everything in between is just okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning of a hit streak. I know
Hits
some
in terms of money.
like no people like being a solid
like it actually
good one.
being a good movie.
Yes, I
Okay.
think this is the beginning of a streak.
And you saved me from having to say out loud that I liked this movie. So thank you. I appreciate that.
We got it in there anyway.
We can cut that part.
No, because some people don't like Iron Man 3. Those people are wrong. People are like, Ryan, you forgot about Thor 2. Thor 2 is there. Thor 2 is good, okay? And I will stand by that. Brooklyn doesn't agree.
I don't dislike it. I think it's not as memorable.
That's, yeah, not the worst complaint.
It's okay.
Then we get Guardians in there. We got
There's a lot
Captain
of
America
potential,
2.
I think all of these are post the Avengers, right?
Right, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Oh, okay.
I've been keeping in my system. I don't even love the first Avengers movies until this. This is the first of a streak
That you love.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The director and writer is Joss Whedon. And Joss Whedon was like the guy. He's now in Hollywood jail now. Because he was all
Voted
these
for
stories.
Trump or something.
No, all these stories. No.
Mm.
All these stories came out from Buffy, where apparently he's a big bully. Like, he was mean. Like, all these separate stories, like how he wasn't very nice to people.
And, like the young girls on this set,
Yeah.
like 15, 16.
Oh.
And then he was in charge, because he does Avengers, he does the next Avengers movie. And then the Justice League lost its director, and he stepped in to, like, let me reshoot, let me put this together. I did it for Avengers, I'll do it for Justice League. And then stories came out, like, maybe he wasn't nice on that set either. So he's, like, in jail. Hollywood jail, so he's a wealthy man. Like, he's not, like, his life is good. But this might be a hot take in some corners of the internet, but I miss Joss Whedon.
I mean, I loved Buffy,
Oh, yeah?
so
What about Firefly?
I think he's talented. I never watched Firefly.
You watched
I know.
Buffy without Firefly.
I know, but here we are. So I think the talent can't be argued with. He's come out with some really interesting stuff, even if we can't go into there. This is a podcast about Buffy, so.
It can be. At any split second, it's going to be a Buffy podcast.
Because I'm not watching Buffy. So.
But what? You haven't seen Firefly either,
No.
right? This is his second movie after the Serenity movie. He directed, like, Firefly, then Serenity. Didn't do well, but fans like this.
Yeah, everyone loves Firefly.
Yeah. But this movie does get a lot of complaints by saying people say it's lit like a TV show. Like, people who look at these things like, oh, this movie doesn't look like it's a movie with its cinematography. It looks like it's a TV show with a little bit bigger budget. And I can see that, but also it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
notice
that's the
that.
kind of thing I'd never noticed.
But he was the writer, though, so the reason if Joss Whedon is, like, credited for being, like, the guy behind all the dialogue. It's very Joss Whedon-esque is now what you can say. It sounds kind of like this.
Then he's good at it.
Yeah, I like when Phil Coulson comes in, Tony Stark, security breach, stuff like that. All right, actually, speaking of Phil, here's the other thing that Joss Whedon does, though. It's almost, you can kind of put it under the negative section because they gave Phil a name. It's not Agent Coulson anymore, it's Phil. So it's like, oh, we're getting too familiar with this guy here.
So he has to die.
Is something going to happen? And in other Joss Whedon things, similar things happen where it's like, how can we get the audience in emotionally? Maybe by killing off a character we kind of like, you know?
Oh.
Or stuff like that.
Well, he manipulated me effectively then.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
That was a moment I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe they've got some chops.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not Doesn't why I don't think goes in the negative category. It's
Yeah.
just if you were familiar with Joss Whedon stuff, you're like, oh, this is how he does that. You know, I like the fight between the three heroes before the actual fight. The Iron Man versus Thor, and Captain America gets in there because it's always like, oh, who would win in a fight? These are the good guys. So this movie gives us a fight between the three of them.
But it doesn't
like
end
that.
logically.
Why not?
Thor is a god.
Yeah.
The end.
Okay.
God versus a guy that has some technology. No. Thor wins.
We need.
I think he starts off like, we won't go into detail because a lot of this brings into future movies and stuff. I think Thor is one of the characters with the biggest arc, not just character wise but power wise. And so I think they started him on pretty equal footing. We'll see where he goes, I guess.
Well, I like he shoots Iron Man thinking
that
it was
was
gonna,
smart.
but then charges up his suit. It's like,
Yeah, that was smart.
Then he-
400%. All right. That was smart.
Is Shakespeare in the park? And then, of course, Iron Man's shield is vibranium. It absorbs.
Oh, jeez.
It doesn't react like metal. That's why his hammer doesn't affect it. It like sends the energy out.
No comment.
Oh
No comment.
I like how this movie involves everyday people, like the police, you get the army. We see citizens. Sometimes when there's these big destructive movies, we don't see citizens. The people doing their thing.
Right.
I liked that.
And I like how they're prioritizing citizens throughout the movie. You know,
Yeah.
that we need and blah blah blah. Whereas in a lot of action movies, like no hate to Superman, I didn't hate Man of Steel, but they like toast that city.
Yeah.
And that's that.
And a lot of people... Actually, speaking of... This is what Joss Whedon does in his Justice League. The Justice League. When there's the big fight, there's like the family in that foreign country. How can we show the people? Well, here's one family trying to survive. And then if you watch the Zack Snyder version, that's not it. That's all Joss Whedon stuff. That's all his... Because he does the same thing. Let's get to know like a couple faces. Actually, one of the faces is Ashley Johnson, who's like in The Last of Us and stuff. But she's in a deleted scene getting to know Cap. I sent you the deleted scene. You didn't like it. You're wrong. But you see her, and you see Captain America save her, because she kind of represents the common people. The people in the street. Anyway, I like that they're involved, and the heroes are actively saving them. Okay, a couple more things. I like when Loki comes in to the that party to get the eyeball. He steals an eyeball.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then he's like, kneel before me. This is where you belong.
Yep.
And then the one guy who's obviously probably like he's Jewish. Like there are always men like you. Like there's no like what does he say? I wrote it down actually. In the end, you always kneel. Then he stands up. Not to men like you. He's like there are no men like me. He's like there are always men like you. That's so good.
Yeah, that was good.
I love that.
Yep.
I like how they can't trust S.H.I.E.L.D. I like how
Yeah.
we're indoctrinated with Nick Fury's secret organization, but we can't trust these. They're making weapons. They even say we have to put this on the back burner because there's Loki issue, but they're going against S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while. That's cool stuff.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. This is a much more layered movie than all of the other ones except Thor, I think.
Yeah. I think the end of battle, the whole climax is it's like its own story arc, beginning, middle, and end. The battle itself, which is like 40 minutes or something. And it's just, here's how our heroes start out. Here, they're in the middle. They have like the low point even. Like, and then...
Yeah.
It is well paced.
Yeah.
It is.
And you didn't like the space whales, but you're wrong. Those are cool.
Okay, so that's a good transition to the dislikes. So most of my dislikes are logical inconsistency, like Captain America. So the space, is that what they're called? Space whales?
That's what I call them.
Oh,
That's
the
what most people call them.
evil
Yeah.
space worms or something. Okay, so how are they staying in the air?
Space technology.
Yeah,
No,
space
there's
logic.
no technology.
What? They
Those
came
are
from
living
space.
creatures.
Yeah, alien.
Okay, they came from space. What's not in space? Gravity. What's on Earth? Gravity.
Oh my god.
There's these freaking, 5 bus-sized worms that are just like, holy
It would have been
moly.
funny if they came out and then plopped.
Yes,
down.
that's what should have happened. So the space ones don't make any sense.
This is what he does, Brooklyn, is he just finds these things that are not even on my radar in the problems.
That's my job.
These whales flying, of
That's
course.
my job.
And you're like, this is why I don't like it.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
How does it make sense?
I think I can go, maybe it doesn't make sense, but like I can suspension of disbelief.
Well, right.
It's fine for
At
me.
that point of the movie, I had fallen in like with the movie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big deal. A couple of things, however, were a big deal. I hate the Tesseract. I hate it. It's stupid. Because basically what it does is whoever's writing the movie, they're like, we need something that's going to do this thing. Oh, let's put the Tesseract in there. So I made a list of all the things that the Tesseract supposedly does. So the Tesseract is a power source. It's a face melter or something. It's a mind control device. It's apparently a wormhole.
Well, that's
it's a
scepter.
teleportation device.
Right.
And so it's this like catch-all plot device that we can't figure out how to do this, so we'll just add that to the list of the things that the Tesseract can do.
The mind control is the scepter.
What's the little glowing blue thing on the scepter? It's a part of the Tesseract.
It's kind of like we can't touch that quite yet.
Oh, it's a part of the Infinity Gauntlet? Okay, whatever. Anyhow, okay, so I retract the mind control thing, but it does seem to just kind of whatever we need it to do, that's what it does.
Yeah.
I hope they don't keep doing that.
I'll say they don't. They have like toned the Tesseract's screen time down.
Oh, good.
I would say you have a point in just that, like as we go in and you get more shiny rocks, some of them have very specific things that they do. And I don't want to go too far into that because I'll just keep going. So,
Okay.
MacGuffins and stuff. It does start a weird trend of space portals. Like,
I'm good with wormholes.
Around this time, movies were just having space portals.
I'm good with wormholes.
Really?
That's physics. Wormholes are theoretically
they kept
possible.
doing it. It kept showing up in movies.
Okay.
Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out right around this time. That Ghostbusters movie that came out right around this time. Other examples. But it became a trope. A space portal. Like,
I can see that. Okay. So those are two kind of minor-ish ones. The more major-ish ones for me, more major-ish. We're cutting that.
No, we're not. We're doubling
The
it.
more significant problems is Thor showing up is a problem.
You're
because
not
at
wrong.
the end of Thor, they made this enormous deal about, the bridge is broken. I'll never see my love again, ever. I made this sacrifice to save Earth. And then just out of the blue, Thor's like, boom, here I am. How did that happen?
Well,
I don't know.
Loki has that line about how much dark energy
I
the Allfather
know.
conjured up. So you could chalk that up to Odin being like racist against humans. And being like, Thor doesn't deserve a human girlfriend. She doesn't matter. It's not like worth this much energy.
I like that. Wait, but it's actually a good point because you brought up fan theories earlier. But, like, people talked about this when the movie came out.
About
like,
Thor showing up?
Yeah, like, it was like, wait a second. So people, like, have been talking about it for a long time.
Did they explain it?
Well, in the movie, there's that one offhanded line.
Right, but that's...
And I think you do get a little bit more background with Ragnarok into what Odin is capable of.
Yeah. And also, in Dark World, there's a fun line when Loki explains how he got to where he went.
Okay. Well, for me right now, it feels like a cop-out. It feels like we have to have Thor here because he's an Avenger, and so we'll make a line that says, oh, yeah, dark and what. Okay, so if you're Thor and you're madly in love with this woman,
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman, are you not? And there's a way to do whatever it is that they did to get Thor here to fight with the Avengers. Don't you think that he would have been like, hey, Dad, I really want my
I would agree that he would
girl.
at least have visited her.
Yeah.
In that. I think it's that they couldn't afford Natalie Portman on top of what they
Sure.
already were paying.
That
Which
might be, but...
Because they had,
nuts.
like, Eric Selvig, and I was like, why is she not?
Right.
She's an expert.
Yeah.
She's worked with aliens,
Yeah.
but I think that she's just too good, you know?
It's
But
nuts
but
when-
wait, but my point is, wouldn't Thor chilling in Asgard? He's heartbroken because his girl. If there was a way,
No.
Don't
I think
you
the
think he
problem is
would've
that Thor is kind of a
used it?
daddy's boy.
Yeah.
And so if Odin said no, he'd be like, well, you know best.
He literally, that's what Thor was about, him like getting to that point where it's like, I'm doing what I need to do now.
okay, I guess. I just thought that was bullcrap.
You can highlight that point and we can come back to it
Yeah.
after some more Thor movies.
Yeah. Wait.
Okay, I will point out that this is the fewest problems I've had with any of these movies.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really, really good movie. So, in the battle scene, we have Iron Man and Thor and Hulk, who are very clearly superheroes. They are doing massive, massive things. And then we have Captain America and Hawkeye and Black Widow, who do basically nothing. Comparatively nothing. So how are these 6 people on the same team? Like Captain America, I get Captain America becomes the the nominal leader, and Iron Man's
he
like,
knows how to plan.
Iron Man's like, okay, what do we do? Okay, great. So he has that role.
Mhm.
What else does he do? Nothing. He just he's like fights a couple of guys with his shield.
He's doing
Meanwhile,
the groundwork.
Hulk is frickin' taking out the space.
Yeah.
What did you call whale? What do you call
Space
the space
whales?
whale?
He does kill
he's,
one, yeah.
He's taking one of those out while Captain America's like fighting a couple of guys. So for me, this team seems to be incredibly unbalanced. And so I don't really see the point of Hawkeye. Also Hawkeye I think is dumb. Because whatever arrow he needs, to the point that he has an arrow for when he falls off a building. Is this the movie where he has the arrow that hacks the computer?
Yeah.
Okay, that was stupid.
It's
That
an
was
arrow computer. What are
dumb.
you talking about?
Like the
Or-
computer arrow
Yeah.
thing, that was dumb. But so I would like your 2 perspectives on the what I perceive as the dramatic power imbalance between the 2 groups. Because that's a huge problem for me with this movie.
I would disagree. I think that they are mismatched. I think in this case it's kind of like, all hands on deck, like who was there? But does that explain why they stick together in such a tight unit for future movies? I don't know.
I mean, they try. There's always the joke of like, what does Hawkeye do once he runs out of arrows?
Yeah, he's dead or...
And even like their dynamic in the future, like Natasha is intel, and like she has that role, and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I think that they didn't really flesh out his character as much.
He was a really cool bad guy.
I mean, they give him the job of looking at patterns, seeing where people are. That's why he's like, got any tips? Like, they can't bank, so then Iron Man does a hard turn and they crash into things. He's like, oh, Thor's taking care of things on 6. And Iron Man's like, and he didn't invite me. So he's trying to be like the eyes on everything guy.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, Black Widow,
I think they all have roles,
Yeah.
but it is still missing. Like,
she got herself up at the top of the building by riding the guy's shoulders. And then she was the one to stab the Tesseract.
Yeah. Do you know why she was the one to stab the Tesseract?
Why?
'Cause she had nothing else to do. There's no other role for her. So they're like, okay, you be in charge of poking the Tesseract. I'm not, okay. I mean, maybe I'm
and
wrong.
I think that how good she is at being manipulative was really showcased, in her kind of 2 interrogation scenes with like the Russian guys or whatever.
That
And then
was
again
cool.
with Loki, where she's playing people.
Yeah.
I think in some movies she doesn't, like they don't give her that as well. But.
She eventually gets her own movie way too late. Would you, at this moment, be interested in a Black Widow movie right now?
I mean, to be clear, I really liked all 6 characters.
Yeah.
Just, they seemed very, like, just that one point.
Yeah.
It seemed in a battle, those 3 seemed pretty worthless compared to Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk. But I would watch a movie of any of them, any of the 6 at this point. Yeah, this movie kind of, I mean, even though the plot is kind of cookie cutter, from, all the others.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on here, a lot of depth, a lot of layers.
See,
So-
I remember being worried before the movie came out, like, oh, this is going to be Iron Man and friends. Like, it would be too much Tony Stark. But I think they balance it out
Yeah.
super well. Like, super well.
I could have done with less Iron Man, but,
You're wrong.
I mean, I'm good.
Did you like the Black Widow movie?
Yeah, I did. There were, I don't know. I don't like it as much as I like some of the other ones.
Yeah.
But what it did well, it did really well. So.
Yeah. See, even Hawkeye gets a show later on.
A movie?
No, he gets
Oh,
a
a
TV show. It's like a Christmas movie or show.
Is it?
And it takes place at Christmas time. If you want to watch a Marvel.
Does he have an
Watched
arrow
the
that turns into a
Guardians
Christmas
of the
tree?
Galaxy Christmas special. That was fun.
You have a lot to look forward to, Deets.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I have a lot
the
of
Christmas
movies.
special. It was so funny.
I have
Yeah.
seen the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I love
That's
that.
the only other one you've seen.
Yep.
That one's not in the. No, that's not too far away.
Okay, well, that's good.
A negative I have. It's not. It doesn't ruin it, but it's on what you're talking about. It's like the Smurfette trope. Do you know what that is?
The one woman.
There's
With
one
all
woman
the
and a
guys.
bunch of guys. Yeah, a lot of movies have a bunch of dudes and one woman. To Marvel's credit, they keep adding. I think they recognize that. Like the first Avengers, this movie, a bunch of men and Black Widow. It's kind of cool to see 10 years later on, or whatever, a later Avengers movie out. Like, oh, look how many characters we've added that about all different types of people. But you could say,
I mean, it's kind of one of those, like, I don't know, especially as a kid, like, you don't notice it till it gets pointed out at you, you know? I do think that there's great, strong female characters. You don't only have Black Widow, you have Maria Hill, and I think she's pretty cool. Do we pass the Bechdel test? Are they talking to each other? I don't think so.
Did it pass the Bechdel test?
I don't know if she and
think
Maria
she
Hill
does.
have a long enough conversation.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. And they definitely do stuff to kind of reverse that.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah. Something that I think is interesting in this movie, like Black Widow was like scared of Hulk. Did you see that?
Yeah, and I was always like, I was paying attention to that. And I couldn't tell if that was her manipulating him for an emotion or if they meant to play off of that in future movies and then...
Yeah, because there's a scene where she goes to recruit him. It
Yeah.
seems like she doesn't want to when she finds out it's Hulk. Phil Coulson's like, no, I have Iron Man,
Yeah,
you have
you
Hulk.
get the big guy.
She looks like it could be she's worried. But then later on, when Hulk is angry in the ship, she gets knocked over and she stands up. Or it's like she's freaking out.
Yeah.
And I don't think they ever come back to that.
Yeah.
I think that's a unique thing for this movie.
Well, but, I mean, it would make sense if she's seen him being able to channel or control it in the battle that ends this movie, that she wouldn't be afraid later on.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, what does she know about him? Like, he's this anger machine that destroys crap. So I think it makes sense.
I think that scene's so cool. It shows how smart he is. 'Cause
Yeah.
she says they're alone, they're not surrounded, and then he tests her where there's a secret gun. It's all these little things here and there that to develop the characters are so cool.
Yeah.
Like Captain America giving Nick Fury the $10.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you $10 if there's something that I've never seen before or whatever it was. And I love that stuff. And Nick Fury keeps the money. I think it's so good.
There was a lot of...
A little goes a long way, like those examples. I don't like Captain America's costume in this movie. I don't like it. They cover his ears, and it's more, I don't know.
That's how his costume was in the comic books. He had the big ear things.
A little old-fashioned.
Yeah. His best costume's in the next movie, the Winter Soldier one. That's, like, the coolest costume. Because they change every movie.
Yeah.
Why?
You know.
Just for fun.
Give viewers something new to look at. People always talk about it. Like, I'm not a huge costume person, but my brother is. And so, before the movies even come out, he's like, look what they did with the costume.
Yeah. In fact, they just showed a new, I won't say who, because I guess spoilers, but they just revealed today a costume for a movie coming out next year. And people are like, why did they change it? They just change them. But sometimes, like Iron Man, it's to show the evolution.
Yeah.
Because
Iron Man makes sense.
Yeah, it takes all those arms, and then in Iron Man 2, he has the suitcase thing.
Right.
In this movie, The one that shoots out,
flying in
but he
thing.
doesn't need his hands
Yeah.
anymore
Yeah.
for the first time, which is kind of cool.
That actually reminded me, where does Hulk, when he unhulks, where do his clothes come from?
It's just one of those
Like,
things.
I noticed that in this movie. He's wearing the same clothes.
I mean, he gets given those pants by that janitor guy.
Yeah.
But
Are you an alien?
Isn't he wearing the same clothes post him turning into the Hulk on the ship as he is when
maybe
he shows
he's just
up
got
on
a
the...
little backpack of replacements.
I don't
you
know.
know?
That wasn't a big deal. I noticed, do you have a dessert?
Oh, of course.
Okay, what we
In
got?
fact, I think there's only one answer. Did you stick around for after the credits? Did you?
I may not have.
They go and get shawarma.
No, I definitely did not.
When Iron Man wakes up, I don't know what shawarma is, but let's go get some.
Yeah. And then they're like, it's not over yet. And he's like, after we'll do shawarma.
The post credits is just them eating shawarma in this restaurant that just people are sweeping in the background.
It is a
just-
great snapshot
yeah.
of their personalities because, like, I don't remember someone's got their like foot kicked up on someone
Yeah.
else's chair. They're stealing food. It's a
And
fun.
Captain America's like this because they filmed it afterwards. I think he had a goatee for a
Oh
different
yeah, I
movie.
remember that.
So he's just sitting there like this. They're just eating food and just not even. They don't say a word. It's It's the best.
I wish
Cool.
more end credit scenes were like that because
Yeah.
sometimes they try to promise so much.
Yeah.
And I think they forget that people just like character
Yeah.
more than this. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are some disappointing end scenes. There's one involved
In future movies. So the dessert of the real is shawarma.
Yeah.
And the...
them eating some shawarma.
Okay, so our philosopher of the real, I will tease future stuff.
Yeah.
I noticed in this movie that there are some very direct correlations between each of the Avengers and specific philosophies.
Hmm.
So when we get back to the individual movies, I'll bring those up. But in this one, I chose Loki when he says freedom is life's great lie. There are a couple of philosophical aspects to that. One is obviously the free will versus determinism. Loki believes in, apparently, determinism. Humans are determined to be subservient to the people who have power. They don't have free will. And then, I guess he's Jewish. I don't know. The guy stands up and he's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So that's an interesting little free will versus determinism thing. But for me, the more interesting connections are to either Marxism or like the Hindi caste system. So I'm going to focus on the Hinduism for this. So in Hinduism, like there's a very, very well-defined caste system with the philosophers at the top, like the intelligent people at the top, and the military, and then the merchant class, and then the servant class, and then there's the untouchables is what it translates to at the bottom. And so I thought that scene that we were talking about earlier when Loki gets the eye and tells everyone to kneel is really interesting because he is claiming basically the top two tiers of the Hindi caste system. He's saying, I am the only one on these top two tiers. All of you are lower than me. You're the merchant class, the servant class. But I think what he's really saying is there are only two tiers. There's me at the top, and then there's all of you who are the untouchables.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing in between, which I thought was super interesting because ultimately Loki is defeated because he has nothing in the middle. It's just him, and then all of the untouchables, which include the Chitauri. They're also untouchable. And he just views himself as this king. The philosopher king from Plato was another connection. But he views himself at the top. Everything else is way, way beneath him. And ultimately that defeats him because he has no one else. There's no support system. There's nothing under him except for the people he's trying to stomp. Mm-hmm.
But do you think it's a good continuation from the Thor movie? He wants a throne. I'll take Earth.
Yeah, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was so excited when he showed up, and then he didn't develop much. He just is like, I want to be, you know, the top of the system and screw everyone else. I'm only concerned about me.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really, I mean, I guess he does some tricks and some manipulation, kind of, but like he's just there, I want power.
Yeah.
He's not using his character that was developed in Thor to really do anything.
Yeah.
I think it is an interesting reflection of how he thinks that other people view him. Like that part where he has that confrontation with Thor, and Thor's like, come home, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't think that was about him at all. He thought that was about the Tesseract, and maybe it was, but like, that's how he views himself and his relation to other people.
Yeah.
As either way above or way below.
Loki's so good.
Yeah.
Remember Loki later on?
No, I don't. Yeah, so I think, so he falls because he has tried to circumvent like a very successful caste system. Like India is becoming a world superpower, and the caste system has broken down somewhat recently, but they are who they are largely because everyone supported everyone else so that the person at the top could be at the top. And Loki's like, no, I don't need any of that. And apparently he did because, you know, he lost.
Yeah.
So that is our philosophy of the real.
Nice. The creativity of the real? We have a name for this?
No.
Just
Yeah,
different things
like
could have seen, I guess.
super, yeah, I like I said, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Like most of the creativity for this film, I feel is interpersonal, like the dynamics between the characters.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of new plot devices or anything like that, but yeah, really creative between the characters. Apparently, that's Joss Whedon's dialogue.
Yeah.
Was key to that. Yeah.
So
this is probably an 8 out of 10 on the
8 out of 10
creativity.
Ooh,
scale.
yeah. What do you rate it, Brooklyn? You don't have Letterboxd.
Probably 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think that it does a really great job of establishing viewer connection to these characters. I think that's its big strength. I don't know if either of you guys are in like the fan fiction side of things.
Nope.
I am. Let it
Do
be
you
said.
write fan fiction?
I do. Yeah. Let it
That's
never be
awesome.
found by people in my everyday life, but it exists. And I also read quite a bit of fan
Yeah.
fiction.
That's awesome.
And there is a lot of. I mean, I think that. From what I read, Marvel comes second only to Harry Potter in terms of quantity.
Wow.
Really?
There's so much of it.
Oh,
And
that's so
a lot of them are these happy little like family fan fictions where they all live in Avengers Tower together and they're eating breakfast together and they're like buddies now. And I think like this movie is what people watched it and they were like, that's my personality now is this group of people and how they function together.
Huh.
Yeah.
We were talking about that a couple of episodes ago. The like when you went to, you know, Star Wars Land or whatever, and you're like,
Disneyland.
this is me. These people get me. This is a part of me. Yeah.
Makes you want to like inject it. Like, give me more. Give me all this stuff.
It is so weird traveling to theme parks.
Yeah.
Because I've been to Avengers Campus and the Star Wars, the Edge of the Galaxy, what do they call it? And Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and they do a very good job of making it immersive.
Yeah.
So that ties back, I'm sure our listeners who are you know, paying very close attention, ties back to our title.
Yeah.
It's Jean Baudrillard and the idea that we no longer live in the real.
Yeah.
We want this hyper-real experience.
And people will pay for it.
And
Like a
apparently people will spend a lot of time creating it for themselves in their fan fiction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've never read fan fiction.
Yeah, I've never, I have written it. It's never been like, I think I could talk about fan fiction for a long time. I know published authors who are on fan fiction.
Oh, really?
And that's like, Spinning Silver. She created Archive of Our Own. She's one of the co-founders. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is it is interesting how much personal time people will invest.
Yeah.
There was one I was reading, and the author was hosting an in-person party to celebrate the final chapter of like
the
this
fan fiction?
huge fan fiction.
Wow.
And it was like in New York, and like hundreds of people were going. See, I wasn't going, but it is interesting how much, and I think kind of modern franchises really encourage it. This relation between the franchise and the fan.
We were kind of talking about that.
Yeah.
What heroes have you written about?
Mostly, I think Tony Stark is my main character most of the time. Loki's in there too, just because I think that they're two really dynamic characters, and there's a lot to play around with there.
Yeah.
I think that Tony Stark is so interesting because of his background, how he was basically raised by this guy who would have been better off if he was dead. So I think his character is really dynamic, and it has a lot of room just to, play around with as a writer. But
that's awesome. Well, I was thinking about this time, because when he says, they meet Thor for the first time, and Black Widow's like, he's basically a god. Captain America's like, there's only one god, and he doesn't dress like that.
Yeah.
I think it kind of sets up their different beliefs. Obviously, Captain America's Christian.
Apparently, yeah.
Iron Man would most likely be atheist. Probably.
No, I think he's Tony Starkist.
Yeah, he's
But his religion.
Thor is pagan. So I was thinking how, because they don't work together until something clicks. It all clicks. So I was like, a team takes all types of people. I was thinking about that, how because they're forced to work together, even though they're
right,
different.
very, very different.
What do you see, Captain? It seems to be running on some sort of electricity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of saying like maybe they represent. I guess not just America, but like how teams are all sorts of people.
Yeah,
something like
I think
that.
you should follow that through.
Yeah.
Because I think that would tie nicely with some of the philosophy stuff.
Yeah.
So
and they do balance each other out. Like in movies where I think that Bruce Banner and Tony Stark kind of have that thing.
Yeah.
And in movies where there's no Bruce Banner, there's kind of this dissonance there.
Oh.
Mm.
And it is kind of cool. And I won't go into detail, but maybe I'll try to hint to Brooklyn because she knows. When you step back at the 10-year arc of Captain America and Iron Man, how they change is cool too. Yeah. Yeah. By the end.
Okay.
I don't know how much of it's planned because this is because Kevin Feige is the guy behind all of this. Kevin Feige will be like, do whatever you want with this movie, but make sure this happens and this happens because we're setting those things up. Because you saw Thanos at the end. Like, oh, that was the big bad guy? Well, there's this purple guy that's going to come in later. So Feige's, and kind of the secret sauce is like the overarching plan of the Avengers movies, all the way to Endgame. It's like, do whatever you want in this movie. Because even Taika Waititi talks about he could do stuff, but as long as he ended up these characters here to set up the next thing. And that's arguably what went wrong with the sequel trilogy with Star Wars. They didn't have an overarching plan. Here's the first one. Here's a very different second one. Let's try to wrap it up with the third one.
Yeah,
they
all
needed
three different directors.
Yeah, they needed a Kevin Feige just to be like, make sure these end here, this character ends here, because now we're setting up phase 2 now. But it's also so satisfying. It's like rewarding the watcher.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, I see where this might be going, or I understand why this happened because of the last one. And now, of course, Kevin Feige has a Kevin Feige production before the movies now. I don't know if it's working so well now, but it's what's going on behind the scenes.
Cool.
Anyway.
So I have one more thing. Do you still have time?
Yeah, go for it.
One more thing I'd like to play with. Do you have time?
Yeah, I got time.
Okay. I also have time. So we're all happy. Other thing that I noticed as I was watching this is in the Avengers we have a kind of a clear separation in terms of the hero and the anti-hero. Thor and Captain America are heroes, meaning they do good things and accomplish good things, and they're not really willing to do bad things to accomplish good things. And then we've got Hulk and Iron Man who will do whatever. As long as they accomplish the end goal, there's not a lot that they won't do to accomplish that end goal. And so I thought that was really interesting, just split to watch, for me who's never seen any of this, to watch, does Iron Man continue as the anti-hero, doing whatever it takes, blowing up whatever in order to accomplish the goal? Does Captain America continue as, like you said last episode, like the Boy Scout who will always do good? I think that's interesting. Y'all both are smiling, so I'm sure there's something in the future that'll come. But I just noticed that, and I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So,
I would say they play around with those dynamics, yeah.
Yeah. Wait till Phase 3.
Right.
You know what's so funny? I guess you mentioned Harry Potter. I wrote my notes. Nick Fury is like Dumbledore because he manipulated them. He put a dead man's blood on cards so they would team up. I was like, that's like Dumbledore, like basically raising Harry Potter to like defeat Voldemort in the end. It's like he had no choice, but he's manipulating them.
Yeah.
I think the difference is Nick Fury is pretty upfront about the fact that, like, he will do what he has to do for the greater good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Dumbledore's is upfront with it.
Yeah.
My relation to that character is a different discussion.
Yeah.
So Nick Fury's also an anti-hero?
I would say so, yeah.
I would agree.
Okay.
I have a couple more little things I wanted to point out. I love how they have earpieces that you never see. You never see them.
I was
They
like,
just
you guys have been knocked
magic-
around, nothing's falling out.
exactly. They just magically can talk to one another. It doesn't matter where
right.
they are.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that nitpick.
And I was like, I wonder, like, okay, they're supposed to be fighting battles and stuff. What happens if someone loses it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Nick Fury one time says something and they could all hear that. It's like, where did we get this? Also, I think this is the first time in the series so far a musical score stands out. From Iron Man to Hulk to Iron Man 2 to Captain America to Thor, I don't think any of their musical themes stand out. But I think this is the first time a musical score stands out. Bum, 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 bum. It's honestly one of the biggest ones in the entire franchise. Which is kind of...
recurring, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of to Marvel's success. It's like, why don't we have better music? We can't... You walk out of Star Wars, you're humming the theme song or whatever, but not really with these movies.
And I do listen to a lot of, like, music or movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
I have never listened to any of the Marvel ones.
Yeah. I know my brother who listens to this, he listens to it. He's like, no, you guys, you should have mentioned how good the Incredible Hulk score is, but
Yeah, I didn't notice.
they don't stand out as the... But this is Alan Silvestri. He's good. They're so young in this movie. Like, when you step back, like, wow. My wife even said, look how young they are. Like Captain America, Black Widow, and it's kind of fun when you rewatch them. Anyway, this is just next, when we get to it, something to look out, the billing order of these guys, because the cast grows, but these are big stars now. Look at the billing order, because I think Tony Stark is first billed, and then Captain America, or I'm using their character names, not even like their real names. But it's fun to see, especially as it grows bigger and bigger. How do you put these famous people in order during the end credits?
Because there's a lot of them.
Have you seen the headline that's like Marvel casts no names in Thor because Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth were, they weren't really on the scene yet.
Yeah.
Hiddleston had just done Shakespeare stuff, and I don't know what Hemsworth was up
Yeah, like
to,
an
but-
Australian sitcom or soap opera or something.
Really? That's funny. And like the article was like, is this going to pay off?
Yeah,
It
and then
did. Yeah, for sure.
when you see, and I think the next Avengers, Chris Hemsworth is top billed because it's like in their contracts. But later on, we get just like especially Endgame and Infinity War, there are way more people. How do you organize who's more famous?
Yeah.
It's all contract stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's always fun when you have a with and an and with Samuel L. Jackson and like Skarsgård, like because they're more famous but not main characters, but they get a little tag at the end. Stuff like that. I was like looking at.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked this one.
I did. I enjoyed it.
I'm excited.
I really didn't think I was going to enjoy any of these. So
It's a big time commitment to say, I'm going to watch all these. I'm not going to like them, but...
Do you have a favorite and a least favorite out of all of them?
I don't know. I'd have to ponder the favorite one. The one that I walked out of the theater, like, I've got to go back now, Ragnarok. I would love that movie. I was crying, like tears crying, not to over anticipate, but there's this one scene. We can't get into that. The point is, I lost my mind in the movie theater.
I wonder how he's going to react. I was talking to someone we all know from the school district. I was like, we look at it with a philosophical lens. And he said, yeah, I'd like to hear the Ragnarok one. If he could find something to say about Ragnarok. And I was like,
I mean, I'm a Taika Waititi fan most of the time too, but and then conversely, and I really hope I'm not setting you up expectation-wise for this, the one that disappointed me the most was Love and Thunder. Because I had such high expectations.
Yeah.
I don't know what my least favorite overall would be. I mean, some of them I haven't seen.
That's a lot.
Like, I haven't seen the new Ant-Man. And that's been out
fair.
for a little while.
That's fair.
But, and I like, Eternals got such a bad rap. I thought it was pretty to look at
I am
least.
so interested to know what you think of Eternals.
Didn't hate it. But it might just because I think Gemma Chan I think she's fantastic.
Yeah, when
So.
she was announced, I was like, what is she going to do?
I
with
know,
an
I was like, they
Avengers
brought
movie?
Gemma Chan in? What?
So any final takes?
Or do you want to promote your stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, if you want more opinions, I'm at Sometimes We Read on TikTok.
Nice.
So that's Sometimes We Read,
You have like an underscore in between each
Okay.
word.
TikTok.
Next week, we're doing a Jason's
Yes,
Choice.
we are.
What are we watching next week?
So next week we are watching Winter's Bone, which is an absolutely fantastic in every way. I think it's a perfect movie. So we'll see what Ryan thinks of it.
It's currently on HBO if you want to watch along. It is rated R, though.
It is.
For our listeners.
Yeah, I watch it on VidAngel, so I don't know what's missing, but I don't imagine it's sex. I would
It
imagine
says
it's
drug material,
Yeah,
language,
there's-
and violent content.
there's a fair amount of drug stuff in it,
Yeah.
but it's a marvelous movie. So
And then the next 3 movies, Phase 2, is Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, and Captain America the Winter Soldier. And then your choice, then 3 movies, and then we're done with Phase 2. That's how it's going to go. Well, what did you think being on the podcast, Brooke?
I enjoyed it. I like talking about stuff like this. So
Yeah.
all right, well, thank you for listening again. We just encourage you to think critically engage with the movies that you watch.
Yeah.
Don't let them write you. Don't just passively receive them. Think about what you're watching. Find the holes. Find the good stuff. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Love you. Bye.
Bye.